Okay, folks, today is the 10th of February, 2025. Got a little update video on the Trans Am. Got a little carried away with some maintenance that this thing needed. After I got it running and did a few things and was able to drive it around the block and to town and back a few times, I figured out pretty quick that it was going to need some long needed maintenance. The crankshaft seals were leaking on both ends, front and rear. All pan gaskets leaking pretty bad, and the valve cover gaskets were the passenger side one is was especially leaking really bad. But worst of all, the intake manifold gasket was leaking, starting to leak coolant from the crossovers in the front, mainly on this driver's side front here. Like I said, this car was previously pretty much unmolested. It had never been touched. It had the original spark plugs and plug wires still on it. I mean, just really amazing how original this car was. But I was afraid if I continued to drive it with all this oil leaking that I would end up with a fire, an underhood fire, or something like that. Plus, I noticed it had a drivetrain vibration, and honestly didn't think a whole lot about it until I was taking the engine out and discovered that all three of the torque converter bolts were loose. They did have Loctite on them, and so they didn't screw all the way out, but the flex plate was definitely not clamped to the torque converter. And it appears that it hadn't been that way very long, because the holes in the flex plate have not been wallered out badly. I mean, just barely noticeable. So that was a good find. And it also had a couple of the bell housing bolts that were loose. The two lower bolts there on the passenger side were loose. So it had a vibration in it for some reason. I don't know if the vibration caused these bolts to get loose, or if the vibration was just a result of loose bolts. Don't know. I guess maybe I'll find out when I put it back together. But should be good as new when I get it back together. I'll get this engine cleaned up and repainted and do some cleaning in the engine bay. Although it's not very dirty, not too bad. I already washed it under here once. What's left is just a little bit of oil that's on the cross member that still needs cleaned up. But yep, fun project. Thanks for watching.